Hello and welcome to Light Body Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Lara May, and today we have with us Shannon Curtis. She is a speaker, author, coach, and the founder of Angel Goddess Healing, a sanctuary dedicated to those looking for healing, transformation, and personal growth. As an intuitive coach, Shannon specializes in guiding individuals on their journey to overcome trauma, break free from addictions, and deepen their spiritual connection with their higher selves. She is also the author of No More Monsters Under the Bed, Shining Your Light on the Dark, a transformative tale to help heal the inner child within us all. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so tell us about your journey and how, I guess, first of all, like into your intuitive work, and then why forgiveness has become such a big part of your practice.
Yeah, so forgiveness has always been something that I think I've been reaching for on my spiritual path of healing, but definitely on the intuition stuff, I have always had that. I've had a very special connection with spirit, God, fascinated with angels all my life, and just had a really strong connection with that. But once I started getting into my healing work and really letting go of all my traumas, that's really when all my intuition started coming up, because I think we all have intuition. We all have that gut, but you have to learn discernment. You have to learn what feels right, what doesn't feel right. So as I was going along my journey of healing and understanding the different things, it kept bringing me back to myself and helping with that. And I did some spiritual work and some spiritual retreats, and that really helped with some sacred plant medicine. That really helped propel opening my spiritual gifts, because again, it helped get rid of all the trauma, all the false stories, all the fear. A lot of my intuition would hold me back with my fear. And so now I, work with clients, and I say an intuitive coach, because I work with my clients on coaching and life skills, but also I trust my intuition, and I get little signs from the universe, and sometimes loved ones that have crossed over. Sometimes I can stop and ask who they are. Sometimes it doesn't matter. It's just trusting what's coming is coming through me, and it's for that person, that client. So that's the best way to describe how I use my intuition in my everyday life, and then also as I use it with my clients.
Cool. And so, we've had some other discussions on this show about forgiveness for sure. So it's such a big topic, and I think it's so important for our healing journey for sure. I always say that forgiveness is more of a selfish practice, but in a good way, like one of the, the most unselfish, selfish things we can do. But from your perspective, because it seems to be, a pretty big part of your practice and your coaching and your methodology.
Yes, so forgiveness for me, something that kind of came up that I just made this little saying and it stuck, where forgiveness is forgiving your pain and your shame away. So you have a perpetrator, someone who hurt you. So forgiving them is actually giving them their stuff back. It's like, no, I'm not the behaviors. What you did to me, I was sexually molested when I was younger, as a 4-year-old child. And so I learned how to forgive my perpetrator, but that was what it was forgiving, was giving it back to him. And then the forgetting is forgetting my power back. And so it was this play on words that I think that we haven't been taught, how to properly forgive. I think that's the first root of it. Is a lot of times we're told, like you said, it's about the other person. It's about accepting their behaviors, which is not. Sometimes it's religion, because the Bible tells us so. You have to be a good person. We're not really understanding what forgiveness is about. And what I found is, like you said, forgiveness wasn't about that other person. It was about me realizing your actions were about you. You were trying to pass your pain onto me. And so once I gave that back, I found my power, and the power of, you're no longer going to hold that over me, because I know who I am. And so as far as going on my healing journey, forgiveness was a huge aspect of seeing that, of not holding on to that, but also understanding it comes with boundaries. People think, oh, you just forgive and that's it. No, I can forgive, but I also get to decide. I have people in my life, pretty much everyone that's ever caused harm to me and vice versa. I've forgiven them, but I get to decide how close I let them back in. And so forgiveness does not give you an open pass. it just opens the door to start working on yourself and really seeing what was underneath all that pain.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and even the words you use, holding it over me, it's funny too, because once we get into this work, think we start to realize that we're really holding it over ourselves. And like this
Absolutely.
whole process is about like letting go and allowing, because this is going to be part of my next question, but like what happens to us in our physical body when we don't forgive, but like where are we holding it? How is that manifesting in our physical health, our physical lives? And so once we realize that we can let it go, that doesn't mean we're condoning it or like any of the things that you just previously said, but that it's more important for us to be happy and feel good and be healthy and show up as our whole healed selves than to keep holding on and really just holding ourselves down and back.
I always look at it sometimes with my clients of like you're carrying a backpack around. We all have a backpack and backpack of pain. And I like to say, let's take that off. Let's take that backpack off. Let's zip it open. Let's see what's inside. A lot of times there's some heavy bricks inside that's really weighing us down and we don't even realize what they are. And so sometimes there are stuff and sometimes there are other people's. And so we go through it and look. And so when it comes to forgiving someone, we'll look at that and say, you're carrying their pain. Like the person who molested me, I didn't do anything. I was an innocent 4-year-old. But for all my life, I carried that pain with me. And so once I looked at that, I was like, that's not mine. I gave it back. That's that forgiveness for giving it back to that person. That's your pain. That's your wound you need to heal. I've learned how to heal mine. And so that's how you start to look at things to see what you're actually holding on to. The first step is seeing, where is it manifesting in your life? Where is it manifesting in your body? And for me, mine was always in my woman, like my period, endometriosis, miscarriages, all those things that I had in my life were all stemmed from that. So I really had to look at where that was coming from and that shame I was carrying. And when I went on my spiritual journey and had this almost conversation, you could say, in my mind with my perpetrator, that's what I realized was that was that was not me. I'm innocent, but at the same time, it was manifesting in my body as I was holding on to it. And so I think that's what happens, whether it's cancer, anything, it's disease. There's something off in your body. And so it will naturally manifest. So that's a great place to start, is to see in your body, where do you feel off? Where do you feel? And usually there's something attached to that disease that's going on in your body with some kind of trauma, with something.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like, a lot of times we think about these emotions of like hurt, like heartache, or even if it's an emotional pain, not necessarily a physical pain, grief even, but it could be anger. I think a lot of times unresolved anger, and when we've been through something, we feel victimized in some way, shape, or form, even if it's something, where it involved, maybe we were an adult and something traumatic happened, and it was a two-way street. So maybe we did have some sort of role in that relationship, so we weren't necessarily completely innocent like a child would be. There's this element of still like, it's like a self-liberation, like it's a radical self-ownership, but also like this piece of radical self-love, and then radical, ownership and realization, and then this willingness to forgive not only the other person but ourselves too. I think that's a big piece that sometimes that one probably takes longer to get to than it's easier, I think, sometimes to forgive someone else than it is ourselves.
Absolutely. It's easier to love someone a lot of times than we love ourselves. It's easier to give unconditional love than it is to us. And so that's why you really start with yourself. And that's what I did. Was I struggled with addiction 9 years ago. I struggled with pain medicine addiction. And again, that was that behavior from numbing my pain, from all my surgeries and all my stuff that I went through, all my traumas, and not dealing with it. I numbed it. And so once I realized that, I let go of the shame of my addiction. And I realized it was a beautiful tool that I used. That's all I had at that time till I was able to handle in a safe space my trauma. That was that self-forgiveness journey. And so once I was able to start forgiving myself, then for me, it naturally became easier for others, for me, because I found that self-love and I was like, oh, this isn't about me. I'm worthy of being loved. I'm worthy of being treated kindly. The way you're acting is about you. And so that's where self-forgiveness really comes to help, because when you know your worth, you know what you deserve, and anything less than that, you will create that boundary and say, you can forgive, and I'm sorry that you weren't able to show me what I needed. But the boundary is, I love myself enough to not allow it. And so that really does play hand in hand of forgiving yourself, because like you said, it's the most selfish thing that you can do is forgive, because I found that that's the whole point of it. If I wanted to understand forgiveness and feel that moment of letting go, somebody had to do something bad to me. And so that's that beautiful exchange of, it's like a contract. And that's how I look at it. It's a soul contract. That's how I forgave my perpetrator. There was something inside of me that wanted to experience it. It's not my job to know, God, like I can give that up, but there was something that I wanted to know. And now I do. I wanted to know what it felt like to forgive somebody. So then I thanked him for allowing me to go through that and experience forgiveness and that release that I got.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you said it that way too, because it's, soul contracts, sacred contracts, past life experiences and memories, and just the eternity of our soul. And why do we keep reincarnating here on, in the earth school? And, it's through my work it started with my energy medicine and healing work too, like through Reiki and doing client sessions, but definitely through my work with QHHT, Dolores Cannon's technique, just seeing so many different people having such a variety of challenging experiences that our souls choose. And that's a really hard concept for a lot of people to even think about too. Like, why on God's green earth would I have chosen this horrible thing to happen to me? But if we can get past the fact that it did happen and start to look at, what did I learn from it? Who am I now on the other side of it? Is there something bigger in my life that never would have happened if I hadn't gone through it? Then we can, I think, start to see those, pearls of wisdom, or the threads of gold that are part of our growth, and sort of that it gives life the juice, the zest, the richness, so that, like, again, so that we can learn self-love. We can learn, I think, unconditional love.
That's a big one. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Most people, we don't know how to give it. We don't know how to receive it. We don't understand it. I feel like I have a pretty good understanding now with my romantic partner and everything we've been through. We've been through ups and downs, and I'm just now starting to get into the unconditional love of honoring your partner, whatever it may be, because that's unconditional love is true freedom of yourself, but also of another, not putting restrictions on them, all those false narratives that we tell, looking outside of ourselves. It really goes back to self-love, because if I'm loving myself, I don't need someone to love me in that way. I actually want to have someone so I can share my love, not necessarily have to get it in return. And so again, it's all about perception. Are you willing to look at things, like you said, in a different light? Why are we here? Why are we experiencing things? My belief is that is the point of being a human, is literally to experience it. That's what makes us different than any other animal, plant, whatever. We get to experience all the emotions. And so I embrace them, even the painful parts, because I know it's discernment. You have to have light and you have to have dark. You have to have black and you have to have white. If we were all like the sun and just shining all the time, we wouldn't understand our full power. And so it's when you go into those dark places and you look at those corners and you realize, oh, when I sit in my dark, all I find is light. but you have to willing to look at both sides, and then you get to decide, which way do I like? And I like the light better, but I've been both. I've been the bad and the good. I've done it all. I just choose now to lead with my heart. And so that's just, it's kind of a simple choice. And I know people don't always like that, or like you said, yeah, you choose. Just
Yeah.
because you don't understand it doesn't mean it. But that's the first step, is just accepting it and then understanding it and having a knowing, oh, everything that's happening is happening for me. It's not happening to me. It's actually happening for my soul's evolution.
Right. And again, that free will choice, we have choice. We have the power to choose, which again, in so many different realms of existence, that because of there are probably realms of the unity of, of unconditional love all the time. You don't get that contrast, so you don't have to choose. And so again, Earth School, contrast, good, bad, light, dark, polarity, we are forced to choose. And even if we're not conscious about it, meaning awake and involved and self-aware, we're still choosing. That's still a choice. And so I think, I definitely think there's this big awakening happening across the planet right now. And that's why, the energetic world is really opening up, and we're even able to talk about this kind of stuff because, I mean, if you think about it too, how many thousands of years of religious indoctrination and rules and regulations and serious consequences if you did speak out and speak up about anything that was not within that doctrine or dogma.
Absolutely.
So I think we're also breaking through a lot of that. And so I love that too, that you're one of these messengers bringing this stuff through and making it okay, making it safe.
It's okay. Like, that's what I say. What are you so scared of? Like, I've done it all. I've had the addiction. I had a divorce. I had an affair. Like, you name it, I've done it all. But it's okay. I'm not my actions. When I was acting out of that, I was acting from trauma. I was acting from my wounds. But my healed self is beautiful. So I've learned to love all parts of me. And I really think if we can just get back to self-love and not judgment, just be curious. See, the curiosity didn't kill the cat. It's what set her free. You have to be curious. Don't judge the behavior. Be curious. Why am I acting that way? Why was I addicted to pain medicine? Well, then when I was curious, it made sense to me. I was trying to numb pain. And so I think as a society, we just get so lost in that of everyone on their path. I'll meet anyone where they're at. Just like past lives, you don't have to believe in past lives. Just see your life. The same cycles repeat, whether you want to look at it in your timeline on this life or look at it mini, it doesn't matter. You can simply just say, I don't necessarily believe in that. Well, let's look at your life. I guarantee there's some patterns that keep repeating, some lessons that need to be learned, that need to be remembered. And once you get those, it's not always like the easiest, but you get it faster. And so that's what I'm doing in my life, is every time fear comes up, oh, I got to face it. Because I know what will happen. It will just hang around and follow me. So I've just learned to turn around and look at it. And that's the wisdom. That's the knowledge. That's the growth, that we understand, oh, I did this to get to here. And you can see it from a higher perspective. You got to get out of your ego and see it from, shift your perspective to a higher consciousness, like you said. And then we can start kind of making some big changes within ourselves. And then it trickles out to the rest of our life.
I feel like in a lot of ways, our family, the family we chose in this life, are our biggest teachers. They're our biggest challenges. And in a way that, because for a lot of us, we can't just cut them out. Like if they're super challenging, maybe they're even harmful, and it is painful for us to interact with them or see them. Maybe they're really triggering for us. Maybe they're continually gaslighting, or maybe even continually abusive. So how do you help people with those family patterns? Because I can totally see, both in my clients, my friends, even within myself, you have, let's say, a situation with a person in your family. You feel like you've addressed it. You've put up your boundary. And then it's fine for a while, but then it revs its ugly head and you're like, why? Okay. So I like to think about it as like, okay, this is my chance to really put my money where my mouth is and like respond differently, act differently, show up differently. How do you look at those, especially the family patterns?
Yeah, I think family, again, it goes to those kind of false beliefs and those stories that it's family, like blood's, thicker in than water, and you have to stick with family. Why? Why? If family is causing, if there is someone in your family that is causing you emotional pain or trauma or abuse, you do not have to subject yourself just because they're family. And so I have a very healthy relationship with that I've always said, I'll be part of the solution, but I'm not going to be a part of the problem. So I will step away and remove myself. But if you want to start working, on how to become a healthier family, that's okay. But I'm not going to be a part of that same pattern of over and over. And so I think it is the boundaries. But like you said, you have to look at if those boundaries get crossed, then again, that's okay. They're crossing those, but it's still your choice. You can push them even further. You can push those boundaries even further. That's like you said, that choice. We get to decide how close or not and find the gratitude. Maybe it's saying, thank you for helping me find my voice. Thank you for helping me stand up to myself over and over and over, because a lot of times when you're dealing with narcissists or different things in family dynamics or people and personalities, it can wear on you. And that's kind of what they're hoping a lot of times. Someone that's abusive or narcissistic, they're hoping that you'll finally give in. And it can be really draining. And so sometimes the boundary is literally cutting off ties. That's okay too, for a while, till they can show you that they are in alignment with your beliefs. And that's why I say it's okay to have that far boundary and choose that. If you have big family events and if it's one certain person, you can navigate that. If you don't want to go to a family event, you don't have to. And you can say, this is my choice. It's letting go of the guilt and the shame that if, say, you have a cousin or a sibling or uncle, something, and your parents get upset, that's okay. But if you're honoring yourself and it's bringing you emotional pain, why would you want to put yourself in that? And I'm pretty sure your parents ultimately wouldn't want you to have that pain either. And so family's a hard one, but I think that until you really address those family systems, they're going to keep repeating in some way.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it also comes back to like, what are the thoughts that we're thinking about it? What are the old or the, I mean, maybe not old is not probably the right word, but what are the themes or societal rules that we're buying into that we don't have to subscribe to? We don't have to agree to that just because your family dynamic has said this was the dynamic when you were a kid. Okay, fine, maybe, but especially if you're an adult now, like, again, you get the choice. And so you get to choose, am I going to put myself in that situation or not? And if I am, how am I going to show up? I feel like so many of us, and this is like, I feel like when we get to the point of not showing up with our wounded child archetype, then that's like a huge step.
Yes. And it changes the whole dynamics of everybody in your family, because they're like, who is this person?
Yeah. Who is this emotional adult? Huh?
They don't know how to handle it sometimes. No. So you have to give your family a chance to do that. But when you said something about with family and having it, it's like saying, I have to have sex with my husband because I'm married. No, you don't. It's the same thing. Right. Like, it's that society thing. And so you really have to strip those things down and say, wait, why am I subjecting myself? Am I worthy of this? And a lot of times I'm like, no, I don't need this. I fight really, really hard in my life to keep my peace. I live this is my work. This is my lifestyle. I do it every day, meditate twice a day. It's my lifestyle. So I have to really protect that peace. And so when I have that chaos around, sometimes it's necessary, and it teaches me how to find that calm and that peace, because you can't it's not running from everything. It's not running. It's not saying I'm not going to look at this. It's just, I'm okay of saying, you know what, this isn't working for me right now. I can't go to this event. I can't do this. I'm not emotionally in the place to show up. And maybe another time I would be, but right now I'm not.
Yeah. And it's okay. Sometimes we say, like, I just don't have it to give.
Yeah.
Okay too. Yeah. I think a lot of that, like, this also brings up the concept of, I like to think about, of like leaking our energy or like giving our power away. And you could argue that those are two different things, but you could also sort of see them as similar. And we do this a lot unconsciously. And so it's a matter of like maybe like the next step in our self-empowerment journey is becoming really aware of where are we giving our power away? And that comes down to the choice, right? Like, when are we saying yes when we really want to say no? Again, that's on us. And then where are we maybe also allowing others to like suck power from us? Like, when we're around people, and I'm sure you will definitely agree with this coming from your energetic background as well, like you can walk away sometimes from a person or a situation and you'll just feel completely depleted, maybe in a certain area of your body, or maybe you'll have a headache, or maybe you'll just feel exhausted. Those are signs that your energy has been, I hate to use this word because it is a little disempowering, but taken away from you.
Depleted.
Depleted, yeah. But the reason it is that because we weren't aware enough to protect it and prevent it from happening. And so talk about that too, because I think that's a super empowering process.
Yes, that's a great one, especially in this line of work, because again, this is why I think in the spiritual healing space, your own personal work, your ego work, your shadow work, whatever you want to call it, is so important on many levels. But the first one is, if I'm having clients all day and I'm dealing with some really hard topics, if I start taking that stuff on, then I'm going to start, like you said, maybe feeling depleted, maybe feeling this or that. It's because there's something in me that's latching on to that. I'm not holding space for them because I have something that's being triggered in me. So if I wasn't really fully in my healed space of my sexual abuse, and I had to have all these clients all day, if that kept triggering me over and over, I'm not going to feel good. My stuff's going to start coming up. So that's why it's so important for me to work on myself and every day meditate and in the day, because I have to do my ego work and I have to make sure I'm good and I'm in full alignment. So then I can be there for my clients. But what I've learned with my clients and having a child, my only job is to hold space for them. It's not to take on their pain. It's not to heal it. My job is not, I reflect back the idea of what healing could look like to them, and they do that. And so I actually am way better at that. I used to be depleted, like at a end of like a healing retreat or something, like you said. And now I'm actually energized because again, it's a different thing. I'm just holding space for them and I'm giving the opportunity. But like I say, when we get off this call, my life is going to go on. My life is good. It's not going to be a reflection on your choice. And so my job as a coach is just to give them different options. That's it. And so when you disconnect from that, even your child, it helps you have that extra layer of boundary, that just because I'm a spiritual coach or in the healing field, it is not my job and responsibility to heal people. All my job is to do is reflect how I became who I am in my healing version of myself, and then continue to do my work on my own and not pass that on to my clients.
Yeah, absolutely. With all the different modalities and certifications throughout the energetic space I've trained in and studied and got the certificates for and all the things, a lot of times people will look at my website and be like, oh, you're a healer. I'm like, maybe you want to label me that, but I don't see myself that way. Like, more than anything, I hold space for people, and people do their own healing work. And again, that's one of the reasons I love the QHHT work too, is because it literally puts that ownership on the client. But I think as part of our job as the space holders and the teachers is to, again, give people those tools, teach them how to do it for themselves so that they can start really changing their life instead of coming to us maybe sometimes like in the old dynamic of things, it would be more of like a crutch, like, oh, I need you to fix me, or I need you to heal this, or, the way like back in the 80s and 90s, people would call into those psychic lines.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not how it is. And I feel like the universe is calling us teachers and those of us that do have that close relationship with the angelic realm and all of these different levels of healing to be the space holders and be the teachers, and
Yeah,
allow
they
others.
don't give you answers. They don't just,
No,
directly. That's what I tell, even when I pass on, or I have a mediumship client, that's what I say, whatever is supposed to come through is supposed to come through. Some things you'll get now, some things you won't, some things I might misinterpret, but it's that thing of, you're not going to get the people ask, are they watching you're doing? It's like, no, it's all from love. It's guidance. But like you said, it's not these direct answers. It's realizing you have the answers. That's what
yeah,
I learned in my plant medicine journey. Plant medicine doesn't have the answer. All these books don't have the answer. I can use them as tools, but I go within and I trust my answer over anybody's. And I hope everyone else trusts their answer over mine. That's what I say. It's not my way. Go find your way, but I'm just going to reflect what worked for me. That's it.
right. Well, and I think too that we attract people to work with based on, again, like the lens that our life has been lived through, and the lens of which we teach from, and the lens of, like the modalities and frameworks and the toolbox that, again, we give our clients, that those are the people that will find us, that will resonate with us and be like, oh yeah, like that makes sense to me, or that works with me. Like, so that's why there's also there's no shortage. Like there can always be more. Like there's no limit in terms of like too many teachers and not enough students, so to speak, because
We take turns. We take turns.
there's an infinite amount of like energetic matches out there, and like people that we all learn in different ways too. And again, coming back to even just the experiences, like people that have been through similar things as you and your story will probably gravitate towards you, but maybe someone that hasn't had that experience will be, like attracted to a different type of teacher. But then one day, God forbid, they might have a traumatic experience and then be redirected back to you. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like music. I look at it as when you're trying to heal and you have all these different genres, pick a music that you like, that moves you. Because let's say you like country music, but you go listen to classical, it's going to be really hard for you to do some healing work when all you're doing is listening to that. And so that's what I always find too. Find somebody, anyone, guidance that kind of resonates with you, something that you can emulate from them, but you start doing it within you. But find what works for you. Like you said, there's enough people that do. I always try to meet people where they're at, so I can go on the scale of like the spiritual or the woo, whatever you call it. I can go all different levels, but that's what I try to do, is meet people where they're at, because recognizing we're all on this journey at different times. And so sometimes if I'm too much or they can't resonate with me, I have other people and send them to them. There's never been, it's something that it needs to be a really good fit for you and for your client.
Yeah, for sure. Take us through your 7-step process. I feel like you've talked a lot about the different pieces along the way. Just so everyone's clear on what the 7 steps are, let's go through that real quick.
So really how this method came up for me was my book that I wrote, The No More Monsters Under the Bed. And that was really about facing your fear and shining your light on the darkness in your life. And so with that book, it's a little girl, but she meets at one point 7 animals, 7 spiritual animals, and those ultimately represent your chakras. And they all had different parts. So the first one's like the cardinal, and that represents the root. And so it started with this kid's kind of inner book of adults as well, but starting to get that. And through the just writing and everything, it kind of took me up the chakras. And so it's a 7 steps of basically, of the first is like the root. You have to name the problem first. You have to name the trauma. You have to create a safe space to do that. You have to go to the root of the problem. And so you start with that. And then you move through the sacral chakra. That's your feeling, your pleasure. We have to feel the pain. We have to be able to feel it, but no, we're not going to get stuck in it. So a lot of times people with trauma or grief or whether they're afraid to feel the pain, because they think once they feel it, it's never going to end. And so I really help people to understand it's a very important part of the step of feeling it, but trusting it's just like a motion, like a wave. It's not going to stay. Ride that wave out. And then you move to your solar plexus. That's your power source. That's when you start getting your power back, and you start finding that what feels good, because you let go of the shame, you let go of the yucky. So now you can know what feels good. So you start getting power in that. And then a lot of times what I find is most people get stuck in those bottom 3 chakras. They never really move up to the heart space. Once you move up to that heart space, that's where you're bringing it back to love. That's when you start to love yourself and see all those things that happen. Oh my gosh, I named the root of it. I felt it. I found my power, and now I'm in love. I love myself. And then you get into all the fun stuff with your voice, and you can speak it and share it to people and name it and claim it, all those things. And then you have your intuition, your third eye. You know, that's that knowing, because when you're stuck way down in your trauma, you're not going to really have a clear idea of who you are, your intuition, or to trust it, because you don't have that discernment. You're still holding on to pain. You got that weighted backpack on you, so you don't know what it feels like. So once you take that off, then you have this different idea. And then the last is the crown, where it kind of all comes together and you connect with source, God of your understanding, whatever you call it. But it's these 7 steps that are so important, and it just aligns with our body and all my books that I'm writing for children, but also adults, that you have to go through all those things, at least of my understanding. That's what helped me walk myself through forgiveness of others, but especially myself, was just seeing the little blocks in my body. And when I got a little stuck on them, releasing them. And that's that openness that I say, that clear channel. That's why my intuition, my intuitiveness comes in, because when I'm open, I'm a clear channel.
Yeah. And I think through so many different traumatic experiences too, a lot of times we'll leave our body, we'll step out of our body, and it's hard for us to really get back in it, because again, that fear, the pain, that it won't stop. And so I think I love that method, because it also encourages us to come back inside and know that it's safe in our bodies. Yes. And that, you know, this is our vessel for this lifetime. And, you know, in order to be fully embodied and moving through this life, you know, and the best way possible, we really need to be clear and open and connected with our source, but still like be grounded in
our body. Yeah, you just said it. To be embody it, you have to be in your body. You have to be able to feel the good and the bad. And so a lot of times when I work with people with addiction or problems like that, or disassociating, it's because there was somewhere in their life, there was a trauma, there was an incident that you learned that. I learned it my 4-year-old self to check out. You know, I didn't fully remember till I was adult, my full trauma. Because of that, why would I want to remember that? I left my body. And so part of my healing had to slowly do that. But the big key with that, I want people to know, is I tell people, I don't think healing has to be suffering. I don't think it has to be as painful. We don't have to drudge up every painful experience. What I've learned is you can actually remember the good too. So you don't have to go through every core memory of this awful event, or every time you were re-traumatized. You can start to replace that with self-love by the forgiveness. What happened to me was about them. Because when you start making about the other people, especially with children and our innocence and everything, it can kind of help reclaim that power. And then you don't have to focus on the event, because you know that all you want to do is heal what remained in your body. And so some of that it's scary to feel. It's scary when you have been sexually abused, maybe with sex or intercourse, all the intimacy, any of these things. And so you have to name that, see that. But yes, you got to ground into your body and trust that you need to feel those things for a certain reason, but it's not supposed to be for suffering.
Right. And I think, you know, remembering too, that's important that we have no control over other people's actions. I mean, whether they're past, current, you know, or present, that like the only thing we have control of is how we behave and how we respond to things. And so I think that's super important to sort of remember through this process of healing, of forgiveness, but also moving forward. You know, it's, you know, I mean, like, because we all want to, like, again, like, if we're in this habit of the blame game, we all want to like blame someone else for how we act, or, oh, I have to do this because they did this or acted this way. Like, no. No,
part of your thing can say, just like with me, okay, I didn't cause that abuse necessarily, but I held on to it. I chose to hold on to it. Now, again, I didn't have the tools, so you can kind of play that back and forth. And I tell people too, you can go down that rabbit hole as far as you want. That's why I always try to say, we can keep going and delving. Or I really think healing, at least for me, is simple. When I just go into my inner knowing, I trust who I am, when I just bring it back to love. I really think it's fear or love. I always say whenever fear comes up, fear is for me forgetting everything already remembered. That's like what fear stands for me. So when I'm in fear, I'm like, oh, I'm just forgetting who I am. So as soon as I go back into my knowing and my power and trusting in God and my understanding of it and source, the fear goes away and all of that goes away and the other people, and it doesn't matter. Again, it goes back to that higher perspective of going outside of this human conditioning, matrix, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. It's just conditioning, programming. It's like a TV program. I don't like that. I'm changing my channel. And so I literally changed it to a channel of love, and I bring everything back from love. As simple as that sounds, everything in my life always goes back to just an act of love, or it's not an act of love.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. Well, let's tell people where they can find you.
They can find me on my website at www.angelgoddesshealing.com. That's where they can go on and book a session. I do free consultations if someone's curious about it. And I always say too, if it's not me, I will put you in the right direction. I do the mediumship, help people with plant medicine journeys that they go on at other places. And then, life coaching, just really a little bit of everything. And then they can go on there and just find the rest to email me or my phone number and get in touch.
Okay. Are you on the socials?
Oh, yes. And I was going to say, TikTok. I'm getting into that. That's kind of my fear that I've been facing, is putting myself out there, pushing I don't like promoting myself. So it's funny you said that. But any of the social media ones, Angel Goddess Healing, they can find me on. They should be linked on my website. But
Okay. Beautiful. And then your books.
Yep. Same thing. They can go on my website or Amazon or basically where a book is sold. And so I have this one, and then it's a series of 7 with the chakras. And so my next one, I'm just kind of waiting. It should be published soon. And so I'll have that next one out. And that one's about anger. No more fear and anger.
Ooh, that's a big one for people.
Yes, it's a little boy that's going through, lost his mom and is angry. His dad's angry. And so it's really about taking these hard topics, but seeing them from a child's perspective. So we can kind of go back to our inner child and really simplifying it of what's really going on. What's the pain? So.
Yeah. Again, I love that too, because so much of us, we've said it before, but I'll say again, we show up as the wounded child. And so how do we heal that piece of us so that we can, show up as that empowered adult? Well, thank you so much. Any words you would like to leave our listeners with today?
I always just love to leave with gratitude of thank you so much for having me on here. And I hope if any of my words resonated with someone, that I can just give them hope that healing is possible. I always say it's hard work at times, but it's the most gratifying work. So if anyone's listening, struggling, thinking about it, curious, reach out to somebody and just know you're worthy of being healed. You're worthy of feeling good and everything that you're looking for in your life. So just reach out to someone, whether it's you, myself, anyone that can help. And let's just start bringing some more love back into this world.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Shannon. It's been a pleasure. And we will catch you on the next episode, everybody.